other day. I don't have much to say, but there are a few stuffs that I'll be sharing. And in some situation, I'll be able to share videos, while in others, I'll be just talking about it. So, guys, you are informed about the Benin coup that happened. Is it early today? Yeah. No, late yesterday in Benin. Of course, they conducted a coup on the president of the country. And the reality is that even though Benin is supposed to conduct elections next year, February, the army realized that they don't want to wait until then, because possibly the figure that was supposed to be planted by the incumbent president would be a flower kind of president that would be just dancing to the tunes of the former president of Benin. So currently, of course, Benin has all its borders restricted, no entry, because they feel like the kind of leadership they are going to receive was not worth it, and they prevented it earlier. Now, you may ask yourself, why is this happening in Africa? Because, of course, from Samia Suluhu's report, Tanzania was yet to face a coup. You saw what happened in Cameroon, and you also, witnessed what happened in Cote d'Ivoire, for those who are keen about the events of those countries. Now, remember, recently we also saw the Guinea-Bissau. Guinea-Bissau, we had a coup d'etat that was conducted just when, in the evening, the army decided to shoot and invade the president's residence. Then people are running up and down, and they took over the power. And according to information from them, they were saying they were saving their nation from being invaded by foreigners and drug lords that were to take over the nation. Now, when you realize in terms of economics, we have nations which have been taken over by drug lords. And if you have been watching videos such as I can't actually mention all of them, but we have these videos that have been played, especially on drug lords and how they take over governments and how they dominate and even run the economy. You realize that very few people have the money, while the rest don't have. And again, those countries have become so insecure that you will see people doing very well, but sooner or later they're just brushed away because maybe they sold off one of their own. Now, when a country is being dominated by drugs, whether it's cocaine, heroin, or whichever other, they become very dangerous nations, because what happens is that we have so many fronts and they fight. And at the same time, of course, these people put the ministers, prime ministers, and very vice presidents and all those kind of people in their pockets. And these people lack a voice. They cannot protect the people. They cannot defend. They cannot create laws that are actually safe for the people, because there is something they have to protect. So guys, as I talk about this, it's out of actually having researched a lot on what goes around that I'm able to talk about this. So Benin, let's get to Benin and just see a video about what happened. And of course, if you also understand, in Congo, there are very serious incidences of, arson. Today, we had about 40 plus people who were banned in church just after a situationship that followed Trump's peace negotiations that were ongoing. Now, what does this mean to Congo? Because you remember, a lot of Congolese people have spread in different nations, including Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, among many other countries. Now, the Congo people thought that the problems that they're encountering are coming to an end. However, it seems to be a dark day for them. It's not coming down soon, because the rebels have actually invaded now churches, and radicalism is going on. So many lives are being destroyed, as well as property. And the streets of Congo were invaded today, dotted with a lot of, worry and people running up and down. So let's start from Benin before we go to Congo. And I don't know whether you really have any idea about what will happen in Africa if these are the problems we are facing. You can see from the analysis I've done since October, all the way from Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana. We've done something on Botswana, though it's well. We've done something about Seychelles, Lebanon. We've done something on Uganda, Tanzania, a lot of videos, Kenya itself, Sudan, Ethiopia. The other day we saw what happened right there. Of course, you know what is happening in Somali. I did a video on a particular spot right there. and Lesotho, among other places. I can't mention all of them. If you go to my channel, you can check the videos I've been doing, whether it's edutainment for us or Live Saga TV. So let's check on Benin before we go to that is Congo, and we'll be coming back to Kenya after that. So of course, remember, this is a channel that actually deals with sagas all over the world, and we try to kind of comment in a critique that is focused to look for solutions. The solutions will come from you and me. Just by talking about it is enough. A voice is enough, because once you talk about something, those who are not aware about what's happening are now become aware. And away from that, of course, we learn from mistakes. The mistakes happening elsewhere should be a lesson to us. Now, you understand the Congo problems are more of religious wars, right? And Sudan partly. And of course, Somali, when you check on situations that are happening in areas which have become a no-go zone, where again we've had a blackout totally, that they are not being exposed to the world, therefore they can't have solutions to their problems. This is exactly the problem that is happening. We're already 6 minutes into our time, and of course left with about 14 minutes to end our video. So let's check into the situation of Benin. Then we'll be coming down to other cases of Congo, among many others. So let me play a small video of Benin. May not be pretty, long, but President Talon, of course, has been the incumbent president of Benin, and during the attempted coup, let's just check on what happened. AI saves me hours every day. It automatically prioritizes. Oh, okay. Behind the scene. So this is something. This big type of democracy that may have prompted the military to stage this coup. Whether they will succeed or not is early to say, because only what we know is that they've tried. Will they succeed? It is not new in West Africa, because recently we have heard there is a coup in Guinea-Bissau, with the advent of the military taking over from Sissoko Embalo, the embattled president of that country, to the point that the ECOWAS, the regional body, economic. So actually, the French embassy said that there are reports of gunfire near Benin presidential residence in Cotonou, and after that, that is when the army came out to announce that they are taking over the government, because they don't want a flower kind of president to be planted in the in the parliament. Maybe possibly they had seen what happened recently in Guinea-Bissau, and they wanted this to be another situation. But anyway, according to another report, it is actually mentioned that the soldiers who appeared, some of them, of course, 14 people were arrested over that attempted coup. Let's just see the developing story on Benin. And what do you think about these coups? Are they really? I remember recently we saw President Kagame saying that coups are necessary when we have presidents who are not functioning. But I'm not quite sure whether coups are the best way to go. Because what I understand from the research I've done and the studies I've, pursued, I understand that with a coup in a country, the economy goes down. And we have a lot of instability that may not attract foreigners, tourism, and so many other industries that are supposed to actually engineer the growth of a nation. But anyway, let's look at this. After a group of soldiers in the West African nation led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri announced on national television that they had ousted the president and seized power. The foreign minister refuted those claims, saying the majority of the National Guard and the military remain loyal to President Patrice Talon. A government spokesperson says 14 people have been arrested in connection with that attempt to take control. Let's take a listen now to the Interior Minister.
Fellow countrymen and women, on this Sunday, December the 7th, 2025, in the early morning, a small group of soldiers engaged in mutiny in order to destabilize the state and its institutions. Before this situation, The Benin armed forces and their hierarchy, faithful to remained Republican. They fought back and allowed the situation to remain under control and to fail the maneuver. Thus, the government invites the population to keep acting as usual. Thank you.
For more on this, we can bring in Beverly Oshing, Senior Analyst in Control Risks Global Risk Analysis from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Benin here has largely been considered one of Africa's more stable democracies. So did news of this coup come as a shock to you?
All right, before we get to the shock of the attempted coup d'etat that was yet to happen in Benin, though it was controlled, because if 14 of the soldiers were arrested, then that means it never matured, even though they attempted it, and that means it's a risk for the country. And looking at Benin, personally, I know Benin as a very stable nation. And I don't just understand, is this the influence, the wave that we are seeing? And the president of Botswana, I saw him the other day talking against the aspect of really relying on foreigners as the people will give us solutions. And it happens, unfortunately, then to push us to the next story of Congo. What happened in Congo is unfortunate because while Trump has been telling us that he's trying to save the situation, things have not been right. Karan, thank you so much again to come to my other channel and help me watch the videos, plus maybe other people who are watching. Thank you so much. The 4 likes are right there. I appreciate, and all of you are watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and like the video. Also share with your friends and comment to them to join us. All right, so maybe we can look at the analyst, but before checking on the analyst, there is a trend that is happening now in Africa where possibly some teams, or rather soldiers, decide to actually conduct a coup. As I've said, a coup was discussed recently, and Kagame was saying that it's the best solution to dysfunctional government. But I don't know if we have options, because when I look at Uganda, because of what he did, then any other person who wants to take over leadership should actually go through a kind of coup. Then it teaches us that there is a kind of man-eat-man society. That when you've done something wrong to actually maybe save the situation, you're not coming as a savior. You might be a Lucifer in disguise. Because how can somebody now come out after a coup or whatever it is and now takes over government and wants to live forever, become the ruler forever, and possibly creates a dynasty whereby currently the president of Uganda feels like Muhoozi, the son, should be the only person to take over leadership. Now you saw what happened in Cameroon recently. If you followed my videos, you can check and see what I talked about. You also understand what happened in Cote d'Ivoire and many other nations. Of course, this happening, this crazy, guys, happening in Africa. I'm like, what is happening to the motherland that was so peaceful? A place whereby people fought for independence, but once independence came, they became other colonizers in the black skin. Okay, so let's listen to the analyst, then we'll go to the story of Congo, then come back to Kenya and call it a day.
Well, it did feel quite surprising it happening so soon into the election. Obviously, there has been some political grievances. There are 2 other political opponents of Talon who have been arrested, charged, and jailed in connection with coup attempts, but it didn't seem as if it was going to build up to a real state attempt, making it all the way to state TV. However, from what we can see, the group that attempted to seize power, which was led by Colonel Tigri Pascal, did not have as much consolidation as they may have thought. If you look into their statement, they seem to be trying to tap into ongoing grievances. They accuse the president, for instance, of not leading the country well, of cracking down on the opposition, various other socioeconomic issues, and perhaps they were trying to trigger protests that would lead to support for them, but the government says that it has taken back control. However, the situation will remain fluid until there's certainty over who actually is in charge, given what has happened.
Now, Beverly, President Patrice is going to be stepping down in April with the new elections to be held. Do you think that the timing of the elections had some impact as to why they acted now?
It's likely various issues. Yes, there will be elections next year, starting with legislative elections and then presidential elections. A few weeks ago, there was some changes to the constitution, which then extended the presidential mandate to 7 years. But I understand that these do not take into effect after this election. In fact,
all right, so if you look at the extension of leadership of the president, possibly that is one of the things that maybe the soldiers looked at and decided to actually conduct an attempted coup d'etat. However, as you clearly see, there was no strong support, and possibly it means maybe the country was already, strong economically, and the discontent was not really widespread among many people. Anyway, let's get to Congo just a little. And a scenario whereby there was a fire, people were burned in church, almost 40 and plus people are lost today. It's unfortunate, actually. As I've said yesterday, I did an analysis on Kenya, and I didn't know that this could have happened in another country. So, we have turned into beasts, human beings who are lacking humanity, and we are ready to conduct anything for whatever reason, So we live not as souls that are ready actually to even respect God, because if a church is burnt down, and when people talk about religion, and maybe they are trying to force people to get into Muslim, I just don't understand, because while in countries where Christianity is being practiced, we have never had a situation whereby a president or a group will come up to force everybody to be a Christian. We have nations whereby we have a group of Muslim. I know there are so many fronts. A group of Muslim who feel like they must force everybody to subdue to Muslim, or you rather be killed. And when they do so, they say they have conducted a jihad war that is, perpetrating to their entrance in heaven. Whatever that is, it's so, radical and irrational, I would say. So let's just check on what happened in Congo. It's so sad, of course, but we have to talk about it because these are things that are happening. So South Kivu of Congo, that's where things were not very fine today. And I want us to get to that, just to watch what happened right here. Yeah, so as you can see clearly, people have been displaced. In a situation like this, the people who suffer most are women and children. So of course you're seeing people on the streets walking around carrying their luggage. And not just a church was attacked, because in a church they burned 40 people, but there is also a health center where they attacked patients and injured most of them. There is a village they also went into and actually caused death. And on the streets, you can see people roaming around. We can also see fire on the streets, okay? So it's not a very safe hub for anybody. But let's continue seeing what happened right there. Buildings were also burned and homes, all right? And the Islamists massacred patients, set entire facility ablaze. Local authorities also had to, call it an attack on human, but ADF is a very brutal attack by Islamist rebels. They also conducted kidnappings and violence. They burnt a lot of houses, vehicles, looted around. You can actually see that kind of fire. Congo Church massacre happened today. See that? Yeah, so the ADF in Congo, are a rebel group that was formed in a desperate moment. They were formed in Uganda in 1990s. If you are historical, you understand the Tingo. So these people have been actually growing slowly by slowly in not just Uganda now, but in DRC. And they have become a threat to humanity. You realize that what happened today was the worst moment possible in history. But now let's get to the last bit of it, and maybe I may not be able to show a lot of videos, but Kalonzo Musyoka spoke in a funeral talking about how they were pushing an agenda together with Raila Odinga. And now he joined hands with this guy known as Gachagua. Now, some people are not happy about it. And of course, we saw Opio Andai and this guy, hey, I forgot his name. He stood in the funeral and addressed Kalonzo Musyoka, saying that he has no problem with Kalonzo Musyoka, but he has a problem with the kind of people he keeps around. And of course, if you are very intelligent, you would clearly understand that they are simply talking about Gachagua. Okay, so let's just see Wandai addressing Kalonzo in Bondo. Yeah, so of course there was Wandai and there was somebody else. Who was it? So just briefly, then we'll call it a day. Okay, let's check at this. Yeah, this is it.
Because yesterday, whilst at Bondo, during the funeral of Raila Odinga, a number of our political friends who have worked with us in the past came to condole with us, notably former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and former Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa. And they made a number of comments, some of which are factually incorrect. And because I didn't get a chance to correct them whilst at Bondo, allow me to correct them just here very briefly. One, the Honorable Wamalwa said that whilst we were at the National Dialogue Committee, the famous NADCO, and NADCO, I was a member of the NADCO personally. I was the deputy of Kalonzo from Azimio side. And Kimani Chungwa was the leader of Kenya Kwanza then. In NADCO, we were 10 members. And Wamalwa was one of us from Azimio. Eugene Wamalwa cannot have the moral authority to dictate how the NADCO report should be implemented, because on the last day when he was signing off the NADCO report, Wamalwa took off and ran away. He declined to sign the report, claiming that he was traveling to the DRC Congo. Yet he went and hid somewhere in Kilimani. So he has got no moral authority to dictate to us how NADCO report should be implemented. And for Kalonzo Musyoka, he did claim that a number of
Joan
people have been
Kiarie,
killed
hello.
before, and that he needs answers. I don't know from who. Because some of our sons...
All right, so that is Opio Andai, who was questioning the authority, the moral authority of Eugene Wamalwa and Kalonzo Musyoka. At the same time, of course, we saw some of the political allies in what they call now broad-based government, whatever it is, actually saying that they don't have a problem with Kalonzo Musyoka, but they have a problem with the friends he keeps. And of course, if you're intelligent enough, you understand that the kind of friends they are referring to here is possibly somebody particularly the Gigi. That's the person they really have a problem with. But politicians are politicians. I always say there are two classes in this country: citizens and politicians. And unless we are very cautious about our choices, we might just get to do what people did in 2022. You know, pushing aside Uhuru Kenyatta just to pull somebody else whom they already knew. So of course, sometimes when you decide to marry somebody just because of convenience, be ready for the consequences. And when you come about to complain, people will just be listening at you and, marveling, but then they'll not help you. So it's unfortunate, of course, all of us as citizens suffer, but if you really made a mistake of electing or whatever, you may be mourning most because you went for it, but maybe the rest were pushed to just receive it. But anyway, have a nice day. Good night for you. Joan Kairi, I've greeted you several times, but you didn't get it. So you are keeping saying hi, hi, hi. But hi, 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 hi. Let me throw 10 highs. Hi, Joan. Hi, Kiarie. Hi, Joan Kiarie. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Kiarie. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Kiarie. So I hope you've got it now. And thank you so much for coming to my channel. I still embrace you. Thank you. Lots of love from me. And I appreciate your presence on Life Saga TV. So bye-bye for now. Let me go and rest.